Wanted to talk about a basic small parcel, and this applies to large parcels, but a lot of times on large parcels, and I'm thinking a few hundred acres or more, there's a lot of areas where I say, well, we can get into this wood lot over here without spooking deer in the morning, and this we can get over here for hunting in the evening. And you just kind of look at it like, even if it wasn't planned that way, you have so many acres to spare that ends up working out that you have a morning stand here and an evening stand here. However, when it comes to small parcels, if you don't have defined evening stands and morning stands, there's really a big, wide, gaping, open hole in your whitetail strategy on your property. It's going to affect your herd, your hunt, and ultimately the potential of your land, because a defined evening stand location and a defined morning stand location is one of the best reflections of a healthy parcel. And we're going to talk about why and what that means. Right here, we're in an evening stand location. We call this Leo's plot. We call it Leo's plot because Leo had an opportunity on Lucky 2 seasons ago. I passed up Lucky 3 times last year, likely as a 5-year-old. So pretty cool buck. And next year, he's definitely on the hit list as a 6-year-old. And he's a homebody, and he was really around here a lot. Leo was our first hunt winner that we had with the Camp Kicking Bear charity event we have on Father's Day. Make sure you check that out. We're already taking registration for that. We've had several people, probably 10, 12 people sign up for the $350 for Habitat times 50 people. That's for the Habitat tour. We provide lunch. We have a really good time, and then you bring the kids on Father's Day. Camp Kicking Bear's there. They have tug of war, water fights, marshmallow fights. They shoot bows. These kids, we had a kid about 2 years old shooting bows and throwing hatchets into the target. So, but aside from that, Leo won that, and that hunt giveaway we have, and he got to sit here, and he had a chance at Lucky, and he's going to regret that. What happened for a long time. I know it makes him sick, but we had a great time with Leo. This is a perfect evening hunt. What that means is we can get in and out of this in the afternoon, evening without spooking deer. It means we're not going by bedding areas. It means we can get out without spooking deer. This is a smaller plot. I'd say it's about a 1/4 acre to 1/3 of an acre at the most. We even thought about expanding it. It really takes it away from that evening hunt. I like hunting a plot like this where deer are coming through the plot. They're going to a larger plot, which you can see over there, and then they're going out to the ag fields. So what does that allow us to do? Well, they pass through before dark or at dark or sometime during that afternoon, evening sit. And then they're off the plot. That means we can get out of here. We have this whole field edge right here lined in very heavy switch. So we have a trail that we mow through it. We can get in and out without spooking deer. And that's key. It's a defined evening spot that relates to food. Now we have a morning spot backing off the point over there. Typically a morning spot and an evening spot, you're getting in and out, completely different locations. So we're gonna flip over to that and we'll talk about that morning setup, why it's a morning setup, and you'll see it's drastically different than here. This is an area, the farm fields are up here, we don't have deer bedding. We have a trail chiseled out right through the briars. It comes right to the back of the redneck here. You notice the redneck right here, just as far as hiding a blind. We have 10-foot stands with all our redneck. We have a partnership with redneck. We're very thankful for that, and I have since 2016. They're my first real partner that I had that I tried other than Matthews. I've been with Matthews, been shooting Matthews since '92. But this right here, if we put it on a 10-foot stand, it lifts that redneck above this brush and it makes it stick out. Instead, we never have deer look at this. In fact, we put a camera over here. We have a mock scrape out here, mock scrape tree, hanging licking branch, and when we get pictures, no deer are looking back here. They could really care less because it's a part of the extension and the growth of the gray dogwood shrubs that are right here and all the vines. It just is part of that cluster. If the moment we lift it out on a 10-foot platform, it's now sits up like a box by itself and the deer are gonna notice it. So that's why we do this. I'd rather be on 5 feet right here. That allows us to get in and out. We're not climbing up or down and spooking the deer that might be around. We can get up and down. And again, the name of the game is we're getting in and out. This puts food sources back here where we hunt more in the evening. And then a morning stand about 250 yards that way back in the woods with a completely different access. Let's go take a look at that now. But having these defined morning and evening hunts, afternoon hunting stand locations is critical for your land, especially as you're going through your planting phases, going into this spring, summer, and fall, making sure you have these set up in your land. So let's go take a look at this morning stand. Sorry to interrupt, but we have a lot going on with this food plot and many more. I can't wait to plant this. Check out what we're planting on WHS Wildlife Blends. All 12 of our blends are out. You can order bulk seed, buckwheat, and rye. Check it out. We have a new website. Click on seed on the whitehabitatSolutions.com. It'll take you right to the new blend site. Appreciate you for checking it out and taking the time to watch this. This is a typical morning stand, and it has the ingredients for that. You can see the tree stand is actually right up there in those red cedars, just tucked back in there. And it's pretty cool because it's very hidden. I like the stand location anyway. We actually have talked about putting it in this white oak, this giant white oak. We have a licking branch right here. Very remote spot though. And what I like about this is typically most of the bedding takes place here and up that way, but we're about 150 yards away from a food plot, and where we were to begin with, we're about 250 yards away from at least, where we talked about the afternoon evening stand. This is a morning stand because we're not accessing through food, we're not accessing through ag land, and most importantly, like the evening stand, we're not accessing through where we feel deer at in the morning when we come into the stand. Just like when we're over there, we're not accessing when we think we're going through and going to spook deer out in the afternoon, evening. This is interesting too because we don't come down this nice trail that we can drive in. This trail actually has switchgrass all the way through it. And then I've hinge cut the top. It's allowed briars to come in, regeneration. So we're making this top from the stand location that way into bedding. So when we come in here, we're coming in the back side of the bedding. Now when we come in, we're coming down this steep face. We're coming up the steep face in the morning. So we're dropping down through non-food plot area. We're coming down in the woods, and then we're coming up to the stand location, whether we get into this white oak eventually or we stick with the stand location right here. We're coming through a non-deer area. There's a lot of red cedar right there. Red cedar means no regeneration. And I like having a blocker right there where it's not good deer habitat. Now it could be escape cover, deer pass through it. There's usually nice rubs on the cedars. But as far as deer staying there, they don't have that hardwood regeneration like they do right over here or across this top that allows us to get in and out without spooking deer. We couldn't do that up here. So makes it pretty nice for us to be able to get in, and we don't have to come down this hollow too far. There's a lot of bedding that takes place down low. Don't ever let someone tell you that bedding, bucks either bed high or low. Depends on where the food sources are. So we get a lot of bucks bedding low around here because the food's all high. They're bedding on a long point like this away from the food, which happens to be high. They'll bed behind these does back around here, but they'll also bed really low because we have a lot of food up top. If there is a lot of food down below, those bucks would bed high. If there's food top and below, they'll bed in the middle. If there's enough room for them left over, does and fawns always rule the roost. But bottom line is, this is a morning stand. We can get in and out in the morning without spooking deer. And what's cool about it, someone will say, well, it's impossible to hunt a morning stand because you can't get out. You know, if it's a morning stand, you can't get in, it's near bedding. It's not true, because you are back here for 3 or 4 hours and you have the luxury of looking around and knowing where deer are at, because you've been sitting here with the squirrels, with the birds, with the deer, everything that's out here, and you're aware of what's around you and you know what's here. So you say, well, I'm going to get out at 11. Well, at 10 to 11, there's a doe and fawn walking by. They're moving, they're browsing. Well, you wait till they move by. You get out a little bit later. You start to get out, there's deer. You don't get out. You have deer go by, maybe you get out a little early. So you have the luxury of already being here and being aware of what's around you. And then when the coast is clear, you get out of here. And that's how you get in and out without spooking deer in the morning. You're going back around and you're staying away from these bedding areas that extend right up here. The closer you get to the field edge and all that thick cover, there's an expansion of does and fawns. But a definite difference between a evening stand out there that's more food related, that we can get in and out, we can get into them in the afternoon because we know there's no bedding there. This would be an impossible stand to get into in the afternoon, because when you come back in the afternoon here, you don't know where deer are at. So you're probably going to spook them. You don't have the luxury of, oh, they just passed by, I'm gonna get out of here. Or they're bedding down and wait for them to get up and I'll move out of here as quick as possible. You do when you're already here in the morning, so that's a big difference. I hope that makes sense. But you have to be able to have defined afternoon sit stand locations and morning sit stand locations on your small property. It's a must, because that means that you have good food and you have good bedding and you've planned it all out to give yourself access in and out. There's not a property I go to, now around 1,400 properties strong in 26 states since '05 that I've looked at. There's not one that I've said, this is just evening stand property. This is just a morning stand property. Folks, that does not happen if you do a good job putting your deer property together and having a fairly equal number of morning stands versus evening stands is a great sign that you have a healthy deer management plan and strategy and hunt going into this fall. Now, I don't know if you've checked out our main website lately, whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, but we've really had a lot going on, including hats, books, our web class, and certainly our new seed company, WHS Wildlife Blends. When you click on seed on our site, it'll take you right to our brand new site for the seed company. We have all 12 blends available. So check it all out though. I encourage you, I appreciate you checking it out. Whether you buy anything or not, really appreciate you visiting the site and seeing what's going on, and continue to watch because we have big things coming later this year.